Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Love You Show. My name is Ashley, and this is my co host, Andrew. And this is our second episode about us talking about my weight loss journey. So, remember, this show is all about self acceptance, self love, and self care. And today we're talking about.
Willpower. And before we begin, when we introduced this show as a show about self care, self acceptance, and self love, I think that Ashley's decision to get this surgery was the ultimate in self care, self love, and self acceptance. Now, let's talk a little bit about willpower because willpower is making yourself do something you don't want to do because you think you should. And I think a lot of people that are struggling with
Yeah.
this issue, really, this is because they're at a point where they don't have any more willpower left.
And that was me. I
Right.
said that. I was like, I have no willpower. I need it.
Yeah, and the whole concept of willpower is faulty because people think that you only need to make better choices, damn it.
Yeah.
And why aren't you choosing better choices? People don't understand, Ashley, that this is not an issue around choice making or making yourself do stuff that you shouldn't do, like eat properly and work out more and make effective this and make effective this. But it's larger than that. It's something going on in your thinking
Yes.
that keeps you oscillating back and forth from one diet to another diet, from willpower to no willpower, from giving up and feeling sad because you feel defeated because there, damn it, did it again. And it's not about that. It's really about an addiction and a psychological way of thinking about food and your life that the surgery will not resolve, but you can resolve your thinking and how you think about your life and who you are before the surgery, after the surgery, and to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk a little bit about your willpower and how that wasn't enough to get you through, in spite of your success in your life.
I think because I was telling myself that I needed to do something, versus me wanting to actually do the work for it. So I think the more deeper I got into learning about all of this and what my body does and kind of just figuring out everything and how I was no understanding the addiction, understanding how my cravings and my wants and needs can affect me in the outrun in the outlong, and wanting to try eating to fuel myself and not to pleasure myself. So I think once I was able to really get down of thinking how I want to help myself, it made the willpower that word non-existing anymore.
Meaning that at that point you've exhausted your willpower?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were at a point where at 26 you thought, I can't oscillate anymore, and that this is a losing game.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to realize that it's a losing game, that no diet or no plan is going to change the way that you think
Yeah.
about your health and your choices.
But it was also a lot of things that I had to change. I had to look at how I lived my life, how I interacted with people or my family, how I liked to do certain things. Like I loved getting off of work and being able to come and relax in front of the TV, but then I found myself eating because I had nothing else to do. And when I was upstairs working, I'm not eating because I have something to do. So I was finding these habits of what I was doing and how every time I get around my family, it's around food and how do I help myself with all these cravings and people eating in front of me. I only have control of what I do for myself. I don't have control over what other people are doing. So accepting that I'm going to have to go out with my friends or go out with my family, and there is going to be a lot of temptations, but not making it make myself feel bad for not being able to have those things anymore. So it was just like this whole thinking that I had to change that I didn't realize before surgery that I was gonna have to do. Also, the cravings, listening to my mind versus my stomach, and there was something, but I completely lost what I was gonna say.
It's okay, because I think it's interesting that somebody like myself that doesn't think this way about food, I don't, I couldn't understand you and how you were thinking. And what we got to appreciate is that 67% of our population is you, not me. And the 33% of the population looks at the 67% of the population and thinks, why can't you do it? You know, like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why don't you have the discipline, the willpower? And the reality is you don't and you can't. And I think that's powerful for the audience to understand, is that you don't and you can't, and that there's got to be a better way of thinking. So this really is not about willpower or manipulation. It's really going to be about, as we go through this series, changing the way you think about your life, your food, your health, etc. Any comments?
No.
Have you ever looked like at me and my choices and went, he's weird?
Yeah, all the time.
So talk about that, because I think
But
it's
you've helped me learn that. You've helped me understand that food is no longer to pleasure yourself, it's to fuel yourself. And when I really got that logic down, I realized how I got where I was because I was an emotional eater. And based off of how I felt at the moment and what that food was going to do to me, predict what I ate. So like if I was craving something and I know that was going to make me feel happy to taste those foods, then it was pleasing my head, like my mind, but it wasn't pleasing my stomach because it was making me feel like crap later. So it was like it was this double-edged sword that I was doing to myself, and I was just tired of pleasing myself. And I felt like this is what I need to do to understand what food is for me and how I've been looking at food the wrong way, and it's ended me here when I just I've never really had that logic told to me in that way. And so I think it just really clicked to me. But it just because it clicked with me doesn't mean that I'm always going to do that.
Right.
So it's this, you're practicing it all the time.
That's
all
part
the
of the
time.
journey.
It is.
The other thing that having Terry here has been interesting, because there's a difference between food for fuel and also enjoying your food.
Yeah.
Because I realized with Terry that food for her is not a need, but an enjoyment.
Yeah.
And she cooks and she goes out to eat and she describes food, not because it's going to fill a space in her soul or a space in her body, but because she enjoys what she's eating.
Yeah.
And I think that there needs to be a distinction, because there's this whole thing now about food for fuel only, but in reality that's not true.
Yeah.
That there's nothing wrong with food for fuel and food for enjoyment. As compared to food to feed an addiction.
Yeah, that is an addiction for me. Like,
Right.
I can see how there's a difference between Terry and her. That is her enjoyment. She knows when to stop and all those.
Yeah, and then an hour ago, I heard her say to you, okay, we're going to go get lunch. What's your fantasy?
And I was like, I don't really have one.
Right, but that's how
and
she
then we
thinks.
end.
Yeah, that's how she thinks about food. So motivation behind wanting to make this change is paramount. And the motivation has got to be about health, or else you're going to fall short.
Yeah.
So, I think about, Ashley, all those days that we sat on the porch and we thought about
What we were going to do.
what we're going to do.
What did I want?
And what do you want? And who are we going to bring in? Because then it was really unknown. Like, we didn't know how to make this decision. We didn't know what it was going to be like, what it was going to be like after it was over, what it was going to be like in 3 years. So as we continue this series, this is going to be part of the journey that we're going to take together. We're going to relive 4 years ago up into the present.
I know. I just asked myself, would I do it all over again? And no.
What, you wouldn't?
Meaning, like, I don't want to do anything to hinder me in having to go back into that space and have to remake those decisions again. Like, I'm very happy in where I'm at, and I'm glad that I did everything, but it comes to a point where, like, I don't want to do anything to ever have to
Go make that decision again.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is you're so happy with the choice that you made that you're never going to have to make that choice again.
No, because there's so much work and like ups and downs, and you just bringing up us being at the porch just remind me everything that I was going through and how badly I wanted this, but how far away it was from me. And I was just like, here we go again. Here we go. Like, I hope this is the last time, or I hope that, all these things running through my head. But I'm glad I made the choice.
Yeah, and we talk to people that want a consultation on this, and what's illuminating to me is how much people have compromised their lives
Yeah, and they don't even realize it.
until we have
And
that
then
conversation.
and then they don't realize that the food is compromising anything in their life, and how them thinking that they're not going to be able to eat X, Y, and Z for a certain amount of time, and how that is hindering their decision.
Yeah.
I really think,
But that's a sign of an addiction.
yeah,
It's
it
like, how am I
is.
going to live without my Coke if I don't have my Coke? Not Coke, the soda. I think that the talk we had a couple weeks ago with the one person who said, this is what she said: I'm a teacher, a professor in a college. I have to walk up a hill. Because of COVID, I've been able to Zoom my classes. I've gotten so huge that I know I can never walk up that hill again.
And she doesn't want her students to also see her.
And I think about that and I think, wow.
And also, like, how her report about her not walking around her class.
Right, that you can't walk around her class.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so many people that are in this situation that need help. And I'm glad that we have this platform, Ashley, that we can really start to educate people on this issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll pick it up here next week.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you again for watching the Love You Show. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week here at the same time. Bye.
Too little or?
I know, no wave.
Oh, do you think it's too little or should we go longer?